Greetings, everyone! This finally came out, but thanks to Activision and all of our work, we got these a bit early, so we're here to discuss the Crash and Sane Trilogy. Hooray!
Yeah, so this is just going to be it's a general discussion video, like the ones we used to do all the time a couple of years back, but now we actually interlacing them with actual gameplay footage. Now, we do have commentaries for these games planned later down the road, but for now, we figured we'd give you guys general impressions and thoughts about remakes of 20-year-old games. So, guys, the Dark Souls of the new age. Do you agree?
Well,
game is mildly challenging. It's now Dark Souls.
I somewhat understand the comparison, even if it's super dramatic and thoughtless, the way people say it when they say it. Because mostly Crash Bandicoot 1. Because we've got analog control and shinier graphics and stuff now, but we also have time trials. And time trials in particular really highlight the difference between how Crash 1 was designed and Crash 2 and 3 in a way that
Absolutely.
In a way that I think no one really talks about on the internet, or at least never talked about up until this remake collection. Crash Bandicoot's level design is very stop and go. Like every 2 seconds you're stopping to watch some platforming challenge and try to figure out the timing. And that wasn't unusual for the PlayStation 1 days, which is probably why nobody thought about it. Is like because other games like Tomb Raider had that level design ethos as well, where you weren't really supposed to keep moving unless you had already played the game before. You were just supposed to stop, look, consider, plan an attack, and then execute, and then hope it worked out. Hope you got it right.
How to play a platformer.
Yeah, whereas Crash 2 and 3 are closer to more refined 2D platformers and modern 3D platformers, in that they're designed to that the challenge is to keep moving. You know?
Yeah. Well, Crash 2 and 3 are just inherently better by design, and that's been true for the last 20-something years. And it pretty much holds true for today because, just jumping the gun here, like, I absolutely adore the way this remake looks.
The game looks and sounds amazing, so.
Yeah, I adore all the little tweaks they did, especially for Crash 1's case, but the biggest problem with Crash 1 is that it's still Crash 1 with all of its trappings, you know what I mean?
They at the very least fixed the box.
They did fix the box, the box count, and you see, that right there happens to be a fucking lot in this remake.
Let's talk about the control a little bit.
Yeah.
I've tried to consider a comparison, and it's like a machine that was designed to do a very specific thing 20 years ago. Now, when you change one little thing here, like, oh, we need to change this cog, and it's like, oh, it's 1/4 inch longer in the pegs. Oh, that's not going to make much of a difference. But when you start doing that for every little thing, it starts to add up, and things that used to work for the machine before don't necessarily work now.
I haven't seen many little changes. In fact, like maybe the only omnipresent one is that, and this might be an optical illusion for all I know, but it might be. It feels like the spin attack has just a hair less range to it.
A hair less range. You can't box bounce as easy as you used to, because I found myself sliding off boxes all the time when I try to bounce on them.
I didn't feel that way with the spin. I think it's exactly the same as before. My problem is that, you know, in the original Crash Bandicoot 1, there were 2 levels I always hated looking forward to, and it was Sunset Vista and Cortex Power, because of the amount of backtracking, which is because the backtracking you had to do against the camera, one because it was a fucking marathon of the level that you had to 100% and get like the Cortex token to get the key. In this remake, it is now the Road to Nowhere and High Road levels, because
Crash is heavier than I think he used to be.
It's not even a matter of him being heavier. It's like I think they got the hitboxes wrong for the bridge, because I used to be able to do those levels quite fine, you know, maybe 1 or 2 deaths, and then I do a reset here. But I died over 15 fucking times in my first time at Road to Nowhere.
I'm convinced the general control is slightly off to what they used to be.
Or at least he's just a tinge heavier.
He's just a tinge heavier, and he can stop on a dime in the air, unlike the originals where he had a little bit more momentum to him.
I'm gonna have to. I've already played all 3 games back and forth.
I'm going to actually swing the other way as far as Crash 1 is concerned. I think they were a little too loyal to the controls, because I swear to God, Crash in the Crash 1 remake feels jankier than the Crash 2 and 3 remakes. And that would be intentional, if true, because Crash 1 was always a jankier game than...
Yeah, it was Jank Bandicoot.
Yeah,
All bet more or less strength than the jet ski.
But like I had no I have no problem with the on-foot controls whatsoever. It might be because I haven't played any of the Crash games basically since we did our playthrough. Since I did my playthrough of Crash 2 back 3 years ago.
More like you stole John's playthrough of Crash 2.
Yeah. Oh, my
taking it back.
punishment for that is to be the sad sack who has to record Crash 1 for this remake. But like the only time I felt the control was different in any significant way is the vehicles in Crash 3 specifically.
Jet ski.
Yeah, we'll get to those in a minute. But if I were to compare
another positive change: the bonus levels are now checkpoints.
Yes, they are. But
they do count towards your box total now for the
positive
level,
change, you say, but that brings with it another problem. I want to say what I was about to say before I get onto that. Is that if I were to compare control differences in this game to anything, as far as on-foot stages, it would be the Super Mario All-Stars collection. And that might sound like an odd comparison to make for people who are used to the All-Stars collection, but there are very small, borderline nitpicky physics complaints that people have with the All-Stars collection.
That's a very good comparison, actually, because the game still plays just fine and I can do it. It's just there are tiny little differences here and there that make it different enough to where I can't play it the way I used to.
Yeah, which, needless to say, will only really hamper those that have played this since the beginning, like us. If you're a newbie into this, well, then you're going to hate it and compare it to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But
how dare games have challenge?
You know, it really just fucks with us in particular because we're so used to playing the game a certain way.
Just side question: who uses the circle button to crouch and slide?
I do.
You do? Mm-hmm. You don't use R1 like most people?
No, I use the circle button.
Really?
For me, because for me it's easy. All right, let me explain. All right, so to my surprise, at the tail end of my Crash 2 playthrough, I found out that the slide spin jump glitch that gives Crash extra height was still inside the game.
Yeah, I believe it is.
And you do that by slide jumping, and then on the ascent you spin, when it gives Crash extra height. Now, if I'm using the circle button as the slide, that means my thumbs can just do a piano-like maneuver from circle to square, and I can pull it off perfectly every single time. I've always used circles for slide.
I found it easier to use my index finger for the R1 to slide and then do a quick X square.
All right. Oh, congratulations! You're wrong.
Hi, not Clancy Brown.
It's Lex Lang. I think he's been voicing Cortex's Twin Sanity.
Lex Lang, you say?
Yeah, I know. It's awfully close to Lex Luthor, who was voiced by Clancy Brown. Like it just comes to go full circle here. But I think Lex Lang's been voicing Cortex since Twin Sanity.
Yes, he has, and he was also the voice of Zenosuke Sagara in the Rurouni Kenshin dub.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, he does a great job. I love him as Cortex. So.
Yeah, I like the voice acting in the game. Like, I would still say I prefer the original voice acting, but that comes down more to the delivery being more specifically directed to the individual lines, whereas here it's pretty clear they're trying to imitate. Like, I love Lex Lang as a Cortex voice actor. He was great in Twin Sanity, absolutely. And, you know, I'm pretty sure he does a decent job in the Tattoo Crash games as well. But he was a great Cortex in Twin Sanity. And it really showed because those lines were tailored to that particular voice, just as well as the lines in Crash 2 and 3 were tailored to Clancy Brown.
Brio, I think, is just as good in the remakes because, like in the other games, he's voiced by Maurice LeMarche, who's, you know, Brain, all that stuff. The not Orson Welles.
Pinky, fetch me water.
Pinky, bring me water.
According to Antude, his Embryo is basically the only thing saving Mind Over Mutant from totally being unlikable.
I'll give the story a little more credit than what he said. I mean, I agree with. I understand his opinion on that, but I think the writing of the new game, well, the modern games, are actually pretty good, despite the gameplay being not.
As far as the other characters go, they all sound fine. I'm not sure how many returning actors they brought back from 2 and 3.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I know Crash is not the same person.
No.
You know, for all the woes that he does.
Whoa!
You know.
Yeah.
I think.
But overall, I mean, it's still pretty faithful to the originals.
A few very weird line changes, but very little of them.
There was only the only thing I really miss from like if we're comparing like Crash 2 here, like the projection images in Crash 2 on the PS1, I think had a better effect because one effect they got rid of was the static.
Yeah, transitions.
On the face, yeah, the transitions, and it really made it feel like it was a projection that was on the verge of fritzing out every minute.
I kind of get the impression that that Crash 2's remake, the warp room, was restructured at the last minute after they had recorded all the lines, because there are some weird things that they didn't account for, like when it says deliver the crystals to engine, what Cortex originally said was use the platform and deliver the crystals to engine, but you don't do that in this remake, and it's really obvious that they literally went into an audio editor and cut that bit out of the voice dialogue because the voice on that line in the remake just does not flow, and I think they completely cut out the conversation before Ripperoo because that also references the goddamn platform. And it's not
Yeah,
as simple as
because I was wondering what happened to that. I pressed the triangle button to skip the crash dance animation because I got the gem, and I thought I just accidentally skipped that conversation.
I mean, it's not like they didn't rewrite anything. There's this one weird line difference where instead of saying 10 out of 25 crystals, you are nowhere, like an asshole, Cortex is actually kind of congratulatory and says you're making progress.
You're on your way.
Which was a weird line difference, and
we're such nerds.
It threw me off. I'm not gonna lie, but because
this game sucks.
Because like every other line in the game is an exact quote from the original, but they changed that one line, and I don't understand why. Like they want to make Cortex nicer, really? Or maybe they were trying in vain to make it more believable that he might have turned over a new leaf for at least a little while.
Which, according to the opening cutscene, we know he isn't. So
it's kind of a lost cause at that point. But
I'll tell you though, like after marathoning Crash 1, essentially, despite the improvements, I love the fact that you can now die and still get the gem unless it's a color gem challenge. But I no longer have to worry about marathoning Sunset Vista or Cortex. The two levels that I hated the most were fixed in this remake, and that's all I can ask for. It's the greatest game ever made. But I really do appreciate those changes. But I gotta say, changes aside, it was like I felt like $1 million when I started going into Crash 2 and Crash 3. Well, because I missed the slide so much. Like the slide to me is such an essential tool for progressing through levels in Crash Bandicoot that to go back to an age where it wasn't a thing is like it's pulling teeth.
It's interesting comparing Crash 2 and Crash 3 because like they must have realized in development that the level design philosophy was just too different, because although they added time trials to Crash 1 for some ungodly reason, that's gonna be fun for Gerard. They didn't add the Crash Dash as a reward for beating Cortex in Crash 1, even though they added it to Crash 2.
Not that you inherently need it for Crash 2, because you can just chain slide jumps.
Oh, it makes Crash 2's levels so much easier to go back to if you're getting gems after beating Cortex. Like behaving, or no, it was digging it.
You still have gems to get, and you already beat Cortex. What are you doing?
Digging it is the level that you have to backtrack through the death route.
Yes.
And with the run, getting through that goddamn level, avoiding all the bomb flowers, was a cakewalk. Like, they barely even existed anymore.
Oh, so even the bees can't keep up with you?
The bees can't keep up with you, and it's a lot easier to dodge around the flowers when you don't have when you can get through faster and you don't have as many of the bombs to worry about per pass. So that level was basically broken in two as soon as I had the speed shoes.
Yeah. But it is odd how they give you the Crash Dash in the end of Crash 2, but they don't bother doing that for Crash 1.
Well, because the level design is too goddamn... I mean, half the levels... Like, I think, like, the only levels that you could get some really good speed going are, like, the first 5. The rest are really goddamn small platforming stages, and I think they realized that, trying to design these time trials around the Crash Dash would be too much of a liability and make the platinum gems basically impossible.
I mean, they kind of already are, but that was me being stupid. They moved the red gem up.
Yeah, they did move the red gem up, so you have to use the back door to get it.
Curses! Speed running!
You can sort of see it peeking out of the top of the screen, so it's still visible, but they did.
Yeah, but you can't bounce off the sea line and then use the extra little bit of lift from the belly flop to get it
to
early.
be fair, like the intention was always to make it so that you couldn't bounce off the seal to get the red gem, because in the demo you could do that super easily, and then they moved it from its position in the demo. But if you were precise, you could still do it, which obviously they meant to make it impossible, but didn't do a good enough job.
Whoops.
So Vicarious Visions was just finishing what Naughty Dog started there.
I kind of wish they had kept it, though, just as a speedrunner, really skilled player sort of thing.
Yeah, but at this point, all the little differences are going to piss those people off anyway, so you got to relearn the
Well,
game.
I mean, I guess, but they did reference other stuff.
Like-
We'll see it in the tiny fight, but they didn't fix the safety spot in Tiny's boss fight in Crash 3. But what instead they do is they have the audience throw cheese at you to push you out of the way for cheesing the boss fight, which I show off.
Yeah, because if they got to be faithful to the design of the original game, everything has to be exact.
Which, to be fair, they basically did, except for the skip stuff.
There are some little things like the pits in the Crash Bandicoot 2 levels, the mole pits. I don't think you can step on the sides around them anymore.
Nope.
No, you can't. Yeah, I got a rude awakening for one of the bonus stages in Crash 2 that had a set of nitro boxes. I think it was like in the last tier of Crash 2 levels. And one of my things to avoid the nitro boxes was that I just used that confounded Z-axis.
And jump around. Yeah, I try to do the same thing as well.
You can't do that anymore.
You can't do that in this game.
Yeah.
Like you are locked in a 2D plane. It's like.
On the other hand, that also means if you're playing with an analog stick and you get a little sloppy because someone distracted you and you looked away and your finger moved, which has very rarely happened to me.
Am I the only one who, in pure 2D sections like we were just in, you just use the D-pad?
I was gonna say, at the risk of disgusting millions, I never used the analog stick once.
Well, I always use the analog stick.
I will on certain levels like the boulder ones, but I normally stick with the D-pad. Yeah.
Yeah, using the analog and Crash specifically, I know as backwards as it sounds, is alien to me.
Specifically for Crash. If you put me in if they made like a Spyro remake, I would totally use the analog stick for that.
Yeah,
but
you put me in Mario, Sonic, Spyro, I will use the analog stick. But for Crash, it has to be the D-pad.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Segue into the graphics. Okay, all of the games look amazing, but I think Crash 3's medieval stages are probably the most breathtaking because of all the grass.
Take notes, Spyro remake people.
The graphics engine actually does change the gameplay in very specific stages. I'm talking about the dark stages. There's a lighting engine now, which means you can see in the dark if you know, look carefully.
Area 51 in Crash 3. You can actually see when the boxes are coming.
Yeah.
Hot Coco, the draw distance is much better.
You can see what's coming up, yeah.
It's magical.
Mind you, that gold relic is still a pain in the ass, but...
Yeah, because the timer is not they're not borked anymore.
Yeah.
So you actually got to earn those platinums in Hot Cocoa and Egapis Rex.
No, I still got a platinum on Egapis Rex, so.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I didn't quite manage the platinum in Egapis Rex. The timer is definitely finished because I always got that without any effort.
The thing for Egapis Rex, just as a side note, is spin the egg and then immediately press X. You will immediately get on the T-Rex, which will get you moving just early enough to get the earliest possible cycle.
Yeah. Now, the thing about the dinosaur, though, is that I'm not sure if it's another optical illusion, because some of the things in this game are optical illusions, and I'll get into that in a bit. But I feel a bit awkward with the T-Rex. Does that control different, or is it just the animations that are throwing me off?
It might be. It might be. Yeah. Well, it just might be controlling different a little bit because everything controls slightly different than their original.
And it throws us off.
It throws us off. But it's to the detriment, I think, of the original game's design because I mean we've all commented on the jet ski already and how
the jet ski.
Pretty much screwed.
Actually, I will defend because I've actually now that I've gotten used to the way it controls, I'm having an easier time with the levels. Like. It's there are some tricky jumps that require you to swerve off of a ramp, but the ramps in the original would always sort of straighten you out, you know. So you'd have to swerve from a straight jump. You can premeditate that now.
Well, I'm glad you're able to get used to it, but no.
you played Crash 3 too often. This is where me being more of a fan of Crash 2 and going back to that more often has sort of helped me because I've
paid
had
dividends.
Yeah, like, I have to sort of, like, I could feel the differences, but I have to sort of get used to the controls of the vehicles in Crash 3 again every time that I go back to it. And
They also, unfortunately, took out all the pit shortcuts in the motorcycle levels.
yeah, but you know, those were always dumb anyway because you never.
Yeah,
like,
but because the control is so bad, you pretty much needed those to get platinums.
Yeah. Well,
to me, the one that threw me off the most, but I eventually got used to it, was the tire levels in Crash 2 specifically, because it is different in a sense.
They
Like,
really tighten your turns, yeah.
Yeah, well, that and the animations. I don't remember the tiger bouncing as high as he does when he's prancing along the road, and that throws me off when I'm trying to position myself to hit boxes left and right.
And I swear the polar bear can jump has only like 2 levels of jump. You can't really control him that well.
on the other hand, the hog controls 1-to-1.
Great.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear you. What?
The hog controls just fine.
Oh boy!
The hog controls 1-to-1, by which I mean it was always worse than the polar bear and the tiger, and they made it worse than the polar bear and the tiger because, well, if you change the control
Gotta be
of
faithful.
that, you'd break the level. Ugh.
If we can go back to the graphics for a bit here, we're all complimenting the way, especially how Crash 2 benefited from that. I will say though, like in a dark level, I don't like how the light reflects off of Crash and Coco's face. Like for some reason, their eyes become deep blue.
Oh hey, look,
for whatever reason.
I'm looping back into the video. You guys won't see this on YouTube, but it's Tawna again. They made her slightly less embarrassing.
Yeah, they changed the opening cutscene to where she punches one of them out and then gets captured.
I was actually referring to the bonus stages where she would.
Oh.
I was referring to the bonus stages where she would make a magazine model pose whenever you finish the goddamn thing, which just sort of looked generic and almost
now
served
she
to
gets
highlight
captured
that
by
she
Cortex.
didn't belong in
like-
this game.
Yeah, like game show hostess.
yeah, that kind of thing.
And your host, Tawna Bandicoot.
And it's like it's one of the few cases where the original series had a character and didn't really do anything interesting with their animations or character. Like I don't have a problem with Tawna as a concept, and I didn't have a problem with Umbrella Lady and CTR, even though that was basically the same thing, because the animation had personality. And it sort of distracted you from the fact that all this character is a design. They sort of added a few little bites of personality into Tawna here, and it sort of makes her work where she didn't work before.
And then she still mysteriously vanishes in 2 and 3.
Yeah, it's odd though because she still appears like twice in the entire series, and it's all in this game. So you see her for maybe 20 seconds plus that one animation at the end of bonus stages. But because of that tweak, she feels like a more natural fit for the game, and I kind of appreciate that. It's not a very important change, but it's one that I think it benefits.
Right. I also just like how at the end of every bonus stage she gets kidnapped by Cortex. Like finally, there's a justification for why she keeps popping in and out. Why doesn't Crash just rescue Tawna right there at the bonus stage?
It's talking of Tawna is a good gameplay segue because now that we have to get all the boxes in the bonus stages, some of Tawna's bonus stages are the most headache-inducing parts of the game because they were always designed so that you could theoretically get all of the boxes in the bonus stages. But the actual process of doing that was something nobody ever bothered with before this remake, and now you have to. And
I would argue more with Brio than Tawna.
No, I like Rio. You have to retry it because Brio's stages are deliberately hard, but his are hard more in the sense that getting across the boxes gets you all the boxes anyway, but it's a difficult platforming challenge. Tawna's boxes have like these mountains of bouncing boxes that you have to figure out a way to get all of them. Or there's this arrow box directly above another arrow box that you have to bounce off the bottom one and swerve accurately enough to get around the top arrow box without breaking it. So I constantly am screwing this up and either dying or jumping into a pit to restart the bonus stage. And thankfully,
on the bright side, you can't just go back into the bonus stage.
Thankfully, even the bonus
True.
stages are exempt from the color gem stage no dying rule. But like, oh god, some of the box challenges in Tawna's stages are ridiculously hard. Like they're designed so that you can jump across to the other side of the bonus stage really easy, but the process of getting all the boxes is the real challenge. So you can kind of tell that the bonus stages weren't designed to require you to get all of the boxes.
So basically what we're saying after all this thing is you're really getting 2 games in one you should avoid.
Well, one that you should hold on to your butt if you're gonna play. Basically, it's like Crash 1. Like for newcomers to the series, you might want to think twice about starting with Crash 1, and that's a weird thing to recommend. But it really is an important thing to know before you get into this. Like I can just imagine a lot of newbies who haven't so much as touched anything Crash Bandicoot related getting into it with this remakes with these remakes.
And starting with Crash 1 because it's
Crash 1
so.
and giving themselves
God, it's Dark Souls. No.
Yeah, giving themselves legitimate PTSD from the road to nowhere.
It's weird, but it's traditional because even before the remakes were a thing, that's what everybody's been saying about the Crash games.
Yeah,
since
but
the mid-90s.
you never really bought them in a single package now, so it's kind of like if you go into the DMC HD collection without knowing that DMC2 is crap. So you're gonna want to play DMC2 before 3.
Yeah, but it was $2.99 on Steam. You gotta complain about.
Speaking of very odd things, the game also does not hide things very well as far as the secrets go.
Right, because the Aku Aku hints spoil everything.
Yeah.
Well, to some degree.
To some degree, there's also trophies to look up for certain things. Some of them are hidden, but not all of them. There's also I mentioned this on Twitter, but Vicarious Visions forgot to hide the 45th gem in Crash 3.
Yeah, they added the 45th gem to your base
counter,
tally, which is...
So you can go into the final boss after getting all the relics for it, and he'll say, he's collected all of the crystals and all of the gems. 44 out of 45.
It's really bizarre. Like, I don't like how they just blatantly say there's a hidden gem. I kind of did, I mean... The sense of mystery has been gone for me since the mid-90s.
Well,
I know
I mean, we know, but it's just one of those, it's basically telling you, well, I won't mind so much of the blue in Turtle Woods, because that one's a bit, how would you figure that out without any hints whatsoever, but a few of them are a little, you could let them figure that out themselves.
Yeah, because, again, they're just something that just blatantly tell you what to do, and it's like, I mean... I guess that's the kind of age we live in now.
But it's Dark Souls, guys.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I kind of wish they left a bit of mystery there. On the plus side, though, I will compliment the achievements because they did get a laugh out of me multiple times for doing.
Booyah,
like
Grandma! Booyah!
There's a trophy for accidentally spinning a life away, which we've all done.
Yes,
at some point.
Which we've all life, and I did it, and it's the achievement thing. I meant to do that. Yeah.
Well, I did mean to do that because I didn't spin it. I played the game so much that I know where the lives are, like by muscle memory, so I won't spin them away. I actually had to be told, try spinning a life away to actually try it. Also, there are trophies for getting 99 lives in all 3 games, so my kleptomania is being rewarded. They're gold trophies as well.
Nice.
How do we feel about Coco being implemented into Crash 1 and 2?
It's a nice bonus, but it doesn't add anything because he plays just like Crash, which is the point, which is good, but at the same time, it's almost...
well, I've played Wrath of Cortex, so I'm glad she plays just like Crash.
No, we've all 3 of us here have played Wrath of Cortex. We know how the horrors of that go.
Her level designs in Wrath of Cortex were excellent, but the only... but you had to ask, why am I playing as Coco on these levels? She's just Crash with no moves.
She's just worse. Yeah, she's just worse Crash.
Yeah, but I'm glad they added Coco. Like from a design perspective, it's good to have that extra character skin for when you replay levels, so that you can mix it up a little. They really put a lot of animation work into her, so it actually is worth switching character models every now and again. But for me, because I'm that guy. Ever since I got this goddamn remake, it's been the Coco Bandicoot trilogy, featuring Crash Bandicoot every 5 hours.
Like, to an extent, I switch to Coco when I have to revisit stages for gems or time trials. But yeah, I really do love the inclusion of Coco. I love the animations they give her. Dude, her fucking phone explodes. Like after like 3 selfies.
Has a Galaxy, I guess.
I guess yeah, she has a
Galaxy S7. Yeah, she has quite a few idle animations actually, and one of the idle animation sets she can cycle through is first you'll hear her ringtone going off, and she'll pick up her phone and talk on it, and then while it's out, she'll go through a couple different idle animations, including taking crazy selfies and taking pictures of the environment around her and playing around on apparently a mobile game because she turns her phone sideways, and then when she's done with her phone, it just explodes. Okay. And there's also this weird magic trick she sometimes pulls after levels where she turns her computer into a gem.
Yeah.
How does she do it?
That's
Technology,
not
ladies
quite
and gentlemen.
as disturbing as Crash barfing up the crystal, though.
Or
And he does it a lot too in this
Yeah.
game, more than I'm comfortable with. It's like stop.
It's
eating
always the
goddamn
crystal
things.
he barfs up, which is always the one that like makes the least sense popping out of his mouth.
yeah, maybe he's doing it just to spite Cortex, because Cortex now has to touch the things.
Yeah. Oh no. If that case, my favorite is when he pulls it out of his ass. Then.
Yeah.
You know. He does that all for pretty much everything. Let me see.
Oh, by the way, because of the animations, John, you now have a realistically animated version of the Crash Dance to emulate.
Realistic. Come on, man. The one thing that I don't like about the new Crash Dance in terms
They
of
took out
emulating
they took out the crotch shove.
They took out the crotch chops and the pelvic thrusts are different. Now it's just like a running in place motion, which looks great for a cartoon character. Impossible to emulate in real life. I've tried it. I can't do it.
No,
was actually
gotta get all
referring
Michael
more to
Jackson
the-
on there.
I was actually referring more toward the spin at the end where you turn around, the part that always gives you so much trouble.
Yeah, I guess, but now it's like another thing that gives a job. If anything, I could do Coco's. Coco's is Crash Dance. It's a
No,
little easier
no,
to emulate.
Gotta do the original Crash Dance where he does the suck it motion.
Yeah.
Well, mix it up. Use elements from both. The best of both worlds is a thing, you know. But
Overall, I think like gameplay-wise, I was able to pretty much jump into it from the get-go, despite the minute differences that throw me off entirely, and I hate it now. No.
Dark Souls.
But I think that those who, I mean, if you grew up with Crash Bandicoot, you most likely already bought this.
Yeah.
But if you haven't, if you're still hesitant, I think for the most part, these are the best way to play these games.
Mostly, yes.
well, especially in
If
Crash
you look.
1's case.
Oh,
Well,
especially
yeah.
in Crash 1's case, yes, there's no substitutions, including the original. That is now a substitution.
But yeah, it's like as far as remakes go, it doesn't often come out as much better than this. Like if I'm gonna point to my ideal example of a remake, it would still be fucking Resident Evil on GameCube,
Right.
hands down.
A
because,
remake, yeah.
You know, that game just did literally everything there was to do right.
Yeah, this is probably up there with remake as probably best examples of remakes you could ever do.
This is a really good example of a really faithful, extremely close to one-to-one remake, which is a rare thing in and of itself, but it's even rarer when it comes out good. Like, we got a year or two ago, we got the Ratchet and Clank remake, and just compare this to that, and it's like, oh dear Lord, Insomniac, what went wrong?
Their A team was busy making Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, ugh. Even discounting the story problems with that goddamn remake, when you factor in the way that
So join us in our Ratchet and Clank remake commentary in 6 years. Thanks to Lewis.
I'll probably get to it eventually, but I'll do the original first because it's just a better game. I mean,
just for comparison's sake anyway,
just
yeah.
like the strafing for one thing is almost as big a detriment to that game's level design as the first-person shooting in the Twin Snakes. So it's just ugh.
Well, if nothing else, I'm hearing these games are doing very well, and I know a lot of people are talking about them. So hopefully that means that the rumors floating around that Activision also owns the Spyro license, obviously with the whole crossovers on the GBA and stuff. So hopefully that means Spyro 1 through 3 remakes as well.
That would be really cool.
there's two things we could look forward to this if these do really well. One is the eventual Spyro remakes, if there's enough fan demand for them, which to what I've seen there is. And one, Vicarious Visions has gone out to say that if the Insane Trilogy does really well, they are on board for making new Crash games in this formula.
Totally, do it, please do it.
So I would love the latter. I mean, I'm not really a Spyro guy, but I would love.
So we're gonna get Crash Bandicoot Mania, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we're gonna get Crash Mania. Yes, Crash. That sounds like a party game when I say it out loud. But hey, I am on board for that because I think these are pretty damn good.
Reimagined when we talk about there being slight differences, they're really only slight differences that only really matter in the context of you using the exact same level designs of the original. They would not matter in the slightest in a completely new game that was designed with all those little tiny things in mind.
Absolutely. So that's what all the more reason to look forward to the original games if they decide to pursue that, which I'm hoping they do.
As I said, it seems to be doing very well, at least upon initial, talk of what's going around in gaming. So.
Yeah, and it would also be an excellent opportunity to bring back some of the better ideas that were explored in Wrath of Cortex and especially Twin Sanity. Like, I'd like to see Nina Cortex appear for more than 2 stages. That would be fun.
Isn't this game also getting DLC later?
Yes, it is. Crash 1.
Yeah, the Crash 1's cut levels, the alternate version of Sunset Vista, and what was it, Stormy Ascent? Which,
Have fun, John.
It was this, just for quick context, if you guys don't know, Stormy Ascent was the cut second version of Slippery Climb. It was basically the harder version of that, and it was cut because it was considered two Dark Souls. Even in 95, they call it the Dark Souls of level design, and I had no idea what they were talking about. No, there was that. They cut it up because it's too difficult, but they're going to add it later as DLC. And are they considering adding the beta version of Sunset Vista?
I think so. There are 2 trophies, and it is called Lost Treasures in the plural, so alternate, 2 levels.
Yeah, then that sounds like beta Sunset Vista. Fuck me. Oh, boy. All right.
So John's doing it, just in case you're wondering, John's doing it for SGB, and Lewis is doing it for BSE, so I lucked out.
Well, you see, here's the thing. Just to give you guys an early bonus, because we're starting to record that for SGB like tomorrow at the time of this video. So by the time we finish the Crash 1 playthrough, they probably won't be available. But
do them eventually.
It's only a moment's respite because I'm gonna have to go back and record those levels anyway.
And at the time of this recording, I already 105% completed Crash 3 for the channel. So
it's so weird though because they add the trophies went live for Lost Treasures as soon as the game was available, like before release. Even when we got our review copies, the Lost Treasures trophies were there. It's so weird because, add-on trophies usually don't go live until the update that comes along with the DLC itself.
Yeah.
So,
oops.
Probably give people something to look forward to.
It's like they premeditated it so much that they decided, hey, if we don't have to patch this game, we're not going to pay the patch fee. We're just not going to do it. So put the trophies in right away. Screw it.
They're 20-year-old games. I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah, it's just
it's a 20-year-old game that's a platform with no real story. So
it's like I can see completionists who ironically don't follow gaming press and don't know about the DLC, looking at the trophies and being like, oh, what do I got to do to get these trophies? And then just fumbling around in vain for a month until the DLC comes out.
Oops.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ultimately not that big of a deal, but I haven't played much of Crash 1 yet, just enough to put my share of the video for Crash 1 in. But I'm mostly through Crash 2, played through Crash 3. I'm definitely enjoying these remakes of Sonic's ass game.
Man, I'm doing it in order. So I played all of Crash 1. Was intending to 100% it for a change before I started, but when I realized how many of the levels required colored gems, I was like, yeah,
life's too short.
I have things to live for, and I do kind of need to get a well-rounded impression ready by this weekend. So I skipped to Crash 2 and 3. And I haven't even 100%ed Crash 2 yet. I've got 2 gems left, Piston It Away and the Color Gem Gauntlet. So
Just remember, you can spin away the shrink ray.
I just, like, last night defeated Entropy and played a level in Engine's Time Twister area. So I played most of Crash 3 by now. The only thing I haven't personally experienced is the Fruit Bazooka, which I would assume controls exactly the same as always.
Yep, it's jittery as it always has been.
Great. Wonderful.
The kids love it, though.
No, that's the Wumpa Fruit flamethrower.
You're right. Just shoots out music that just juices all over the place. But anyway, I mean, again, if you haven't, if you're always on the fence about the original Crash trilogy and you haven't yet, you should just probably just get Sane Trilogy at this point.
Most likely, unless you're like stuck with, unless you don't have a PS4 yet and only have PS3, you can, I think, still get them on the PSN. But these are ultimately just better versions.
Yeah. Just little differences aside, but then again, if you never played Crash, you won't know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
So you have, I mean, I guess if you're a newbie, you have all the benefits that we don't, and that you have experience with previous games. But you should go and get them. I mean, the Insane Trilogy is a, what's it selling for? I don't remember the.
It's full price because I think you're getting 3 because they're billing it as 3 games.
Well, let me check. I can look this up on the PlayStation Store right now. Crash and Sane Trilogy.
Speaking of, I'm so glad I upgraded my PS4's hard drive to 2 terabytes because Crash and Sane's 24 gigs, the digital version.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right. And that's a discussion for a whole other day, though. No, it's $40.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice then. Definitely go pick it up then.
It's $40, 3 games, 2 hedgehogs, 1 epic adventure,
2 Bandicoots.
No. 2 You're right. I want Crash Generations.
Classic,
No, I don't want
classic
Crash
Crash and Tattoo Crash.
It's Tattoo Crash. Okay, I don't want Crash Generations.
Hey, you know, but at the very least, Tattoo Crash did beat 'em up gameplay better than Sonic Boom. So.
Oh, the greatest of compliments.
And don't forget the Crash Bandicoot Sonic crossover where we have classic Crash Bandicoot, Tattoo Crash Bandicoot, and Skylanders Crash Bandicoot.
Crash v Sonic dancing all night.
Damn right. All right, okay. Well, I believe we've pretty much wrapped up everything we need to say here. I mean, when we get to the eventual commentaries, I'm pretty sure we'll have much more to say.
Definitely.
In very finer details.
And as always, we'll be going in actual numerical order, so.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, Lewis, get on it so we can do it.
Yep.
I'll get Crash 2 on standby. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the Insane Trilogy if you get it for yourself. We hope you guys listening to our discussion here. Somebody wake up Ted.
He doesn't care because he's allergic to PlayStation controllers.
He breaks out in hives.
To be fair, I'm allergic to PS1 controllers too. Have you seen those things? Where's the analog stick? Fuck.
Fucking children, all of you.